if you're a visa applicant for a student, temporary worker, or any of those kind of visas next year, you should feel pretty good right now because there is a possibility that you won't have to do an in-person interview with the State Department in order to get your visa or to renew it, because the State Department has extended its visa interview waiver authority, which is a policy that allows consular officers at embassies to decide to waive the in-person interview requirement that is part of your visa applications. So if you say you're Indian and you're a student and you need to renew your visa, you've been to the U.S. before, you go to the embassy, they'll say, hey, you don't need an in-person interview. We're just going to waive it. Just do your application and, we'll hurry up this process. So you don't have to be stuck in long wait times in order to get an interview. That is the worst, hardest part for any visa applicant to the U.S. And it's a big deal because, the U.S. has a lot of non-immigrant visa applicants. So we have people coming for students, tourists, business travelers, researchers, professors, temporary workers, all these kind of people. They're all applying to come to the U.S. for travel for a temporary period. And so the staff is already overwhelmed at the moment because they had a long period of time during the pandemic where they didn't have enough staff. They let them go, or they had to, they just weren't fully staffed. And then at the same time, there was so much demand they got pent up to come to travel to the U.S. It got so bad that wait times at embassies for whether tourist or student took up hundreds of days at, say, countries like India. So, this policy will allow the State Department to avoid that outcome from repeating. They'll be able to just essentially just avoid having to waste the time of all these applicants who are safe. They're not a threat to the U.S. They just, they should be focusing on the more important people who need a more in-depth interview. So this will be a very good boon for the U.S. Travel industry. I mean, we're going to get 2.2 more million travelers now with this visa interview waiver authority being extended, and probably get, I think, $5.9 million, right? I mean, the thing is, the State Department could have not have renewed this policy. They could have not done that. And there was a risk they were going to, but they ended up continuing with it. And it's good news because they'll be able to, like I said earlier, cut and save time when it comes to visa processing for travelers to the United States.